Hello everybody, I am Jillian Sakovits and welcome to a brand new show here. You've got Full-Time Review brought to you by The Athletic, your Monday morning rundown looking back at the weekend's action on the pitch and the top stories from the NWSL and beyond. And we're going to do it in all under 20 minutes. That's right, we promise under 20 minutes. I'll be your host every single Monday morning and I can't wait to hang with you. On the show today, we're going to take a look back at Friday's penalty shootout drama in the Challenge Cup between the Orlando Pride and the Washington Spirit. And then we'll be checking in what happened over in Europe during a Cup weekend before finally checking in with the great Meg Linehan to get the latest on a formal review into allegations of a, quote, toxic coaching environment at Bay FC. Let's get into it. Let's start with Friday night's NWSL Challenge Cup. The Washington Spirit claiming their first trophy of the new NWSL season by defeating the Orlando Pride 4-2 in a penalty shootout. The match ended 1-1 in normal time. Raffaelli opened the scoring for Orlando before Lacey Santos equalized with an absolute screamer of a free kick with just under 20 minutes to play. The Spirit are developing a little bit of a reputation as the penalty shootout queens of the NWSL per Opta stats. The Spirit have won their last 3 penalty shootouts and are the only NWSL club to win more than one. And just like the 2024 NWSL playoff semifinal against Gotham FC, it was goalkeeper Aubrey Kingsbury to literally save the day. The Spirit captain made the crucial stop from Orlando's 4th penalty kick taker in Ali Lemos, who looked a little bit nervous before she sent her tame effort into the arms of a diving Kingsbury. That Kingsbury save set up Tamerra McKeown to be the hero, smashing the winning penalty right down the middle of the goal and into the roof of the net. We need to talk a little bit more about McKeown, the center back who recently made her debut for the U.S. women's national team at the She Believes Cup, put in a fantastic all-action display. Despite 4 first-half fouls and an early yellow card in the 34th minute, McKeown made it through the full 90 minutes, doing enough to prevent the Pride's Barbara Banda from getting on the score sheet. Beyond the battle between McKeown and Banda, there was no love lost during the match between these two on a bruising night that included 30 total fouls. There appears to be a little bit of a rivalry brewing between the NWSL's top 2 clubs at this moment in time, and the players felt that intensity in the Challenge Cup on Friday night. Here's Orlando defender Kylie Nandaner giving her perspective.
We know Spirit's a physical team. We kind of knew they were out for blood after, the championship last year. They're a tough team. And credit them to get the goal back. I mean, I thought we controlled the game pretty much for the most part. And yeah, to lose in pens, it happens. That's football. And we learn from it and we move forward.
This win could be seen as a small dose of revenge for the Spirit, who were runners-up to the Pride in both the championship title and the regular season shield last season. Although Kingsbury herself, speaking after the game, didn't quite go as far, to use the R word.
We never beat Orlando last year, so nice to finally get a win over them. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily a revenge match because it's not like anything can change what happened in the final last year, but we're focused on this year. We've got a new team, a lot of exciting additions, and like I said, the first opportunity to win a trophy this season, so hopefully more to come.
More to come is perhaps the biggest takeaway then. The Challenge Cup delivered as an enthralling event with some memorable goals, and it has certainly whet our appetite for the incoming NWSL season, which will begin this Friday, March 14th. But even for the victorious Spirit, who opted to play without Trinity Rodman on Friday due to her ongoing recovery from a back injury, the real challenge is about to begin. Here's Spirit defender Casey Kruger.
I think we'll enjoy this moment for tonight for sure, the day off. And then we shift our mentality because the reality is we have 1 week, right?
Yeah.
But we're happy in this moment for sure, but it's just the beginning.
Let's head over to the other side of the Atlantic now in England. In FA Cup action on Sunday, there was a surprise in the quarterfinals as Liverpool knocked out Arsenal 1-0, and the winning moment went down as an own goal for Arsenal keeper Daphne van Domselaar after Sophie Romanhag's shot rebounded off the post onto the goalkeeper and into the net. It's the first FA Cup semi-final for Liverpool since 2017, but the big result is perhaps even more of a surprise as it comes just 1 week after the club parted ways with head coach Matt Beard. After a fourth-place finish last season, the club has stagnated and gone backwards in the Women's Super League standings. Sunday was a career day for interim manager Amber Whiteley, who is set to lead Liverpool for the rest of the season. As for Arsenal, this cup exit leaves the Champions League as the only real trophy that's left on the table, with Chelsea, runaway leaders, 11 points clear the top of the WSL standings with 7 matches remaining. Liverpool will travel to Chelsea in the semi-finals on April 13th after the reigning WSL champions edged past Crystal Palace 1-0 on Sunday. Lauren James came up big once again for the Blues in the second half. It was her third goal in as many games for Chelsea. The other semi-final will feature a Manchester derby. Manchester United took care of Sunderland 3-1 in the quarterfinals, while City had a confident 2-0 victory over Aston Villa. It is the first time City have reached the FA Cup semi-finals since 2022, when they went on to the final, but were beaten 3-2 by Emma Hayes' Chelsea. On the other side of town, Manchester United are the current holders of the FA Cup. For now, last season's FA Cup remains the only major trophy that United's women's team and head coach Mark Skinner have ever won. Skinner is out of contract at the end of the season, and as reported by The Athletic's Charlotte Harper, United will have until the end of March to have an option year on his contract triggered. And speaking of European city rivalries, it's going to be an all-Paris Coupe de France feminine final after Paris FC and Paris Saint-Germain both won their semifinals this past weekend. It was a late show for PSG, who needed a strike from Grace Guerrero in the 9th minute of the second half stoppage time to win 2-1 over Saint-Étienne. Corbin Albert scored the opening goal for PSG, with the assist coming from fellow U.S. women's national team player Crystal Dunn. That's now 2 assists in 2 matches for Dunn since joining PSG during the January transfer window. Paris FC last won their first and only Coupe de France in 2005, while PSG are the current holders of the trophy and are looking to capture the French domestic cup for a 5th time in their history. And more news in the NWSL. Last Friday, a spokesperson for the league confirmed to The Athletic that the league had opened an independent formal review of Bay FC's coaching staff. The review was first reported by the San Francisco Chronicle following a 2-month investigation by the publication into allegations from former players and staff members of a, quote, toxic environment under head coach Albertine Montoya. Per the San Francisco Chronicle's report, 2 complaints have been filed and reviewed by the league. One came in the summer of 2024, while the other came after the conclusion of the 2024 NWSL season. The second complaint was filed using the NWSL's anonymous reporting line and was only recently communicated with Bay FC ownership. We are now joined by Meg Linehan to talk more about this story. Meg, we have to ask you, what action has been taken so far by the club? And can you talk us through Bay FC's decision to not yet suspend Montoya?
Yeah, I think it is interesting because we have some understanding from Marissa and Jemmy's reporting around what has happened at Bay FC, where there have been a couple of complaints. Montoya has not been suspended because, in theory, the one main complaint that seems to have actually gone through the process was investigated by a third-party investigator led by Bay FC, or basically paid for by Bay FC, right? And so that investigation, according to the club, did not find anything. So he hasn't been suspended. Now, there's been some other second complaint, which does sound like it came from essentially a player survey, which went to the league. And that's where I think this is kind of like the new information that has brought this to light. But Montoya has not been suspended because right at the moment, the kind of the status that we're in is that the NWSL as a league is performing a formal review. And that's not an investigation. These are apparently 2 different things. So there is not a requirement that he is suspended or any action needs to be taken against him. So the club, if they feel comfortable keeping Montoya in the role as head coach, should be allowed to. And so that's where we are as things stand as of Sunday night into Monday.
What's the messaging, Meg, coming from Bay FC's leadership and then the players that I know you've been able to speak with?
Yeah, I think, Bay FC, from the conversations I've had, are clearly, at least saying that they are open and willing to investigate this. They straight up had said, okay, the league is going through this formal review. What I think is interesting is that we have seen players. I spoke to Tess Bodie and Abby Dahlkemper on the record about their experiences, and that was something that the players wanted to happen. At least that's what I've been told, right? That's all I can kind of go off of. But there is this sense of, I think Tess Bodie said it really well, of just things were not perfect in year one. It was an expansion club. Things were not necessarily going well, but things have always been improved. They said once they got in for year two of Bay FC, it seemed like a lot of feedback had been taken on and that the communication lines are much clearer. The structure and the hierarchy of the club have changed based on whatever happened in year one. So there is, I think, this very kind of nuanced state of whatever is happening in Bay FC where clearly something was not working and not clicking in year one, and players obviously struggled with that, but the players who have remained have seen obvious improvements. And so this is going to be one where the NWSL has to step in and say, has it been rectified? Is there a way to address former player complaints, or has it been taken care of? And that's where we're waiting to see what happens.
NWSL Commissioner Jess Berman spoke on this. What did she have to say about this?
Yeah, I think Jessica Berman in her, there was a media availability via Zoom ahead of the Challenge Cup. And obviously she's not really able to speak about an investigation, or in this case, a formal review. But also she wasn't even willing to say, we'll share things transparently after the fact. They are always, I think, a little less concerned with public transparency compared to transparency within the league and to players. And those are two different forms of it. But I thought what was really interesting that came out of that call is she got pushed a little bit on the current, player safety, staff safety across the league. And she was just saying there is no universe in which the NWSL is going to get zero complaints. We have to have a system that is set up to allow players and staff to proactively ask questions, to flag questionable behavior, to even just ask the question of, is this behavior normal? And the answer might not always be there's going to be a disciplinary action at the end of it. And that is a shift in thinking, because obviously with the NWSL, there is a traumatic past here for a lot of people. And so I think what we're seeing, and even in this case of Bay FC, is everything immediately gets kind of interpreted in the public view as the worst case scenario of every possible thing. And I think maybe that's even going to be an unpopular thing to hear right at the moment. But when you consider, I think about Abby Dahlkemper saying hey, I played on Western New York. I played on the North Carolina Courage. I have seen some things, right? I think she should be able to kind of judge to where things kind of fall in an order of questionable behavior into straight up abusive behavior. So we are very much in the nuance zone right now. And I think that's really what Commissioner Jessica Berman was trying to hit on, of not everything is going to result in disciplinary action. Not everything is going to be kind of this public, transparent process. Some of this is going to have to be for us within the league to figure out how we move forward and how we keep everyone safe in a way that is not going to be pretty all the time.
Meg, before we let you go, what should fans be expecting next in terms of what will be public and the steps that will be taken?
Yeah, I think obviously we have been asking questions of Bay FC. We have been asking questions of NWSL Commissioner Jessica Berman. I mean, that Zoom was 30 minutes. I would say 90% of it was about what has happened at Bay FC and how the league feels about it. So I think it is just continued reporting. It is what Bay FC is able to publish. And yeah, I mean, the start of the season is going to happen, so players will be talking further. And it really just is a developing story. But I honestly don't know what will come next out of it.
One more thing before we get out of here today. Congratulations to NWSL Original. and Cameroon international Estelle Johnson, who announced her retirement from soccer on Sunday night. Posting to her social media, Johnson called for her past teammates and fans to leave their favorite memories from her career in the comments, and also left us with some of these wise words. When I look back on this post, I want to be reminded that football isn't just a game. It's a connector, a vehicle for love, acceptance, and happiness. Thank you, Estelle, and good luck in your next chapter. That does it for today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. My name is Jillian Sakovits, and thanks for listening to the first full-time review of the brand new season. You can follow our show at TA Fulltime on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. And Full-Time does not happen without our incredible production staff, podcast producer Theo Lloyd-Hughes, video producer Leah Griffin, and executive producer Emily Olson. Thanks for listening. Meg Linehan will be back with our flagship show on Thursday, and our new Full-Time Focus show, hosted by me, Jillian Sakovits, hitting your feed every Friday.